Hello BookTube, this is Weekly Reads. My reading week has been largely disappointing. I started my reading week with Picnic by William Inge. This is a play set around 1950 in a small Kansas town over the course of the Labor Day weekend. It's set in a shared yard between two houses. In one house is Mrs. Flo Owens, who is a widow in early middle age. Living with her are her two teenage daughters, Madge, the older daughter in her upper teens who works at a dime store and is the most beautiful girl in town, and Millie, the younger daughter, who is in her mid-teens and is more of a tomboy and very intelligent. Also living at the house is Rosemary, a local teacher. Next door is Mrs. Potts, a woman in her later years who lives with her invalid mother. When the play begins, Madge is dating Alan, a local young man whose father is the richest man in town, and Alan is a student at a university. Rosemary is also sort of dating a local businessman. These relationships are disrupted and changed by the presence of Hal, a handsome young drifter who Mrs. Potts takes in and gives a good breakfast in exchange for some yard work. It is revealed that Hal was a classmate of Alan's at the university, although Hal left to try to make it big in Hollywood or something. I did not like this play much at all. I'm fairly sure the intention was to give a shocking, salacious story that, while that might have worked 70 years ago, doesn't quite work today. But I also thought a lot of the relationships and characterizations just didn't quite work out. I just didn't quite buy them. I never quite bought Madge's relationship with Alan, even though it's fairly clear Madge isn't all that into Alan, but I also found that I don't think Alan was all that into Madge either, outside of the fact that the plot needs him to be. But I never quite bought their connection. Certainly, the ease at which Hal disrupts that relationship over the course of a few hours would argue that. Although also there seems to be a lot more connection between Hal and Alan than there was between Midge and Alan, or Madge and Alan. And I also didn't particularly care for Hal all that much. I didn't really see how he was all that attractive or charismatic. Although I guess the actor would be bring the physical attraction, but the sort of textual attraction I didn't quite buy. So I just ultimately didn't think this play worked all that well at all. I moved on from Picnic to The Skin of Our Teeth by Thornton Wilder. This is a very weird play that is both set in sort of early 40s or sometime in the 40s New Jersey, that also calls back to biblical mythology, to the Ice Age, to apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic settings. It's weird. So the first act is sort of set during an ice storm that could also be an ice age, and is about, and the whole play is about a family that both symbolizes Adam and Eve as well as their children, but also a local inventor in the early mid 20th century. The play is very metafictional, and I didn't like it. It really set me off. I bailed on it. Which is a shame because Our Town is one of my favorite plays, and just the gloriousness of Our Town versus whatever the hell the Skin of Our Teeth is, it's just annoying. So that was most of Saturday. On Monday and again yesterday, Thursday, I had a few takes on Tell It Slant by John Yaw. This is his current release. There is a selected collection coming out later this year. I will not be picking it up. I didn't like this collection all that much. I tried it on Monday and really did not get on with it at all. And then I came back to it on Thursday and I had better success with it. But I still don't particularly care for the collection. The one standout in this collection is the long poem sequence Li Shengyin Enters Manhattan. I thought those poems were pretty good, but the rest of the collection, not so much. Now, on Tuesday and Wednesday, I didn't really get a chance to read because on Tuesday me and my mom watched the Four Children of the Apocalypse and The Demon Toddler, my nieces and nephews, because my brother and sister-in-law had an appointment. And then on Wednesday, my mom had an appointment that we had to go to, so I didn't get much reading done, although on Wednesday I did browse through my 2 new cookbooks, and I'm looking forward to trying some recipes from them in the near future. And I will probably try to, I won't make any videos about them, but I might take photos and post them here on YouTube. And that would just be, like if there's a post upload or update or something from me, it would probably be me taking pictures of food. Expect mostly desserts, but there might be some more savory dishes as well. Anyway, so after I bailed on The Skin of Our Teeth, I decided to get my Rocket Summer reading done. Rocket Summer is a booktube event created by Michael K. Vaughan, in which participants read vintage science fiction in the month of July. By vintage science fiction, it is meant science fiction from the beginnings of the genre through 1969. Although thematically, generically, it's hoped that the novels and short stories read will be science fiction before the new wave, or non-new wave science fiction. Clark Ashton Smith is a writer of early science fiction. He worked in the 30s and 40s, possibly even into the 50s. I think he died somewhere around 1960, but his work is part of the Weird. The Weird was the genre of science fiction, fantasy, and horror that existed in the 20s and 30s and really sort of birthed what science fiction, fantasy, and horror are today. On Saturday, I read one story. The Tale of Satampra Zyros. It is part of the Hyperborean cycle of stories. And today, Friday, I read The Seven Geeses, also part of the Hyperborea cycle. So the Hyperborea cycle is a series of historical fantasies. It is set on a fictional continent many thousands of years in the past, where there was a first glittering of civilization, much like, say, the Hyborian stories of Conan the Cimmerian. So the tale of Satampra Zyros is about a pair of thieves, one of whom is Satampra. They are down on their luck, so they decide to go to the old capital, Comorium, to rob the place, because the place was abandoned centuries before at the behest of a Sibyl's warnings. Unfortunately for the two idiots, the place that they decide to rob first, once they get to the capital, is a shrine, a temple to the god Sathagwa, a frog-bat hybrid monstrosity. And for some odd reason, there's a guardian in the temple, or just a monster happened to move in, that lives in a massive bronze bowl in the temple. And this monstrosity eats one of the thieves and takes the other thief's hand. I really didn't care for the story. And then Seven Geeses is about a Hyperborean nobleman who is going hunting and finds himself interrupting a sorcerer's spell work. So the sorcerer, in quite a bit of rage, sends the nobleman on a quest to Sathagwa, deep in the mountains, in the caverns of the mountains. Sathagwa has no use for him, so he sends him on and on and on and on for 7 visits to various monstrosities, until he, at the end, just falls into a chasm. I liked the Seven Geeses in the past, but this reread just did not work out for me at all. And as I've mentioned a few times, and quite frequently on this channel actually, I've lost a lot of my interest and love of science fiction and fantasy over the last few years, particularly in prose form. And that makes me question what exactly I want to do with my own reading project, or my own booktube project, I guess, that I'm going to try to do in August. Although, given how things are shaping up, my August might be a bit overcrowded, so I may actually have to drop that event, or whatever it's going to be. Anyway, I will talk a lot more about that in the coming weeks as I start to think about my August TBR, or reading plan. Now, there was a bright spot in my reading week, Sunday. On Sunday, I read 6 volumes of Twin Star Exorcists by Yoshiaki Sukeno, starting from volume 16 and going through volume 21. Twin Star Exorcists is about two young exorcists, Rokuro and Benio. They are prodigies, and they are informed by their superiors that they are the Twin Star Exorcists. Exorcists fated to, well, they're super exorcists fated to marry and have an even more super exorcist baby that will bring about the end of a 1,000-year war between the exorcists and a species of demon called Kigare. Initially, Rokuro wanted nothing to do with this. He wanted nothing to do with being an exorcist after a traumatic tragedy. Benio was also skeptical, but gradually, as Rokuro gets back into being an exorcist and his drive is reignited, they become closer and closer until they are dating. Even though they're betrothed and are all but married, they're kind of going through the process of getting to know each other and gradually falling in love. This set of volumes that I read begins with the beginning of a major conflict between the Exorcists and the Basara. The Basara are a more evolved form of Kigare. They are few in number, but they are incredibly powerful. More powerful than most exorcists. Even the 12 Guardians, the most powerful exorcists there are. The invasion is led by Yuto, Benio's insane twin brother. So, as the story begins, several of the Basara have attacked groups of exorcists, including Rokuro's family. And this conflict rages for most of these volumes. Many of the characters die, including some major characters, and ultimately Benio returns to the story, and her reappearance is amazing. And then there is a time skip to about 4 years to where the characters are now in their 20s and a new storyline begins, or is starting to take shape. So I really enjoyed these 6 volumes quite a bit. So I'll show you some pictures of from volume 16. Oh yeah, some fights. Yeah. So I had a lot of fun. And the fight between Rokuro and Yuto and Benio's return is really amazing. It was just like, it was a lot of fun. So, what will I be reading this coming reading week? I'm thinking 6 more volumes of Twin Star Exorcists tomorrow. So that would be 22 through 27. Although I might go ahead and just read 12 over the course of the weekend and get caught up for volume 34, which comes out sometime this month, and which I will get sometime in August. So if I do all 12 volumes this weekend, I will do The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton over the course of the work week. Although I might still, even if I do only 6 volumes of Twin Star Exorcists, I might still do this this week, and then the following week focus on history the rest of the month, unless something else catches my attention. But that's the plan. Anyway, BookTube, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now. Thank you. Have a great rest of your evening and have a great weekend. And I will hopefully see you again on Monday. So until then, thank you and stay safe.